Okay guys, welcome back to episode 2, I think it is, of the Space Hopper game that we're currently making. Yesterday, let's just have a quick recap of yesterday. So yesterday we made, we started the project, and then we also, what did we do? We started the basic gameplay, so we made our astronaut move from right to left on the screen. We added in the ground as well, just so we could see the astronaut in the scene so it doesn't fall down. And then we also added in the ability for the astronaut to jump whenever you press space. So if we jump into here and have a look at our schedule here, we can see that in episode 2 we're going to start working on our platforms. So that involves spawning the platforms after a certain amount of time, and then also making them move from the top of the screen all the way down to the bottom and off the screen. And then if we manage to do that, we are going to go ahead and remove them out of the scene when they are off of the screen. So in other words, when they've left the screen at the bottom, we're going to go and destroy them. So that sounds pretty simple and not too much to do today, so let's go ahead and jump straight into it. And here we can see that exactly where we left off yesterday. So let's just play this and see if it works, if everything still works. Hopefully it does. So there we have an astronaut. We can move from left to right, and it still rotates and faces the direction of travel, which is good. If we press space once, then it also jumps. So that's good. So now what we want to do is we want to start spawning in our platform that is going to move from the top of the screen down here all the way slowly down to the bottom and eventually get destroyed. So let's go and do that. So first of all, let's go and make some of this artwork. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my Adobe XD program here, and then I am going to create a new file, and in here I'm going to create my platform. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. All we're going to do is going to create a little rectangle like that, give it some radius on the corners, probably about 20 maybe, like that. This is not going to be a final one, but we'll use it for now. Let's see, where can I get this color from? So let's try and use this color. Is that a bit too dark? Maybe. Let's make it this color. So that is just the color of the title that I'm using. And if you want to see the color code, there it is. So let's see, we could probably make that a little bit darker, maybe like that, I think. And then I just want to make this a bit thicker, so instead of 53, let's go and say 60 maybe. Yeah, that's fine. And then we'll just round this off to 400. So 400 in length and then 60 in height. Perfect. So let's go and export that, and we are going to export that straight into our game folder, asset folder. So let's go and see where that is. So that is in game development, Unity game builds hopefully, and Space Hopper. There we go. So open up the assets, and then we will pop this in our art folder. So let's save this as platform. That should be fine, I think. But like I said, it's not final, but we'll use this for now just to get things working. So I think that's the only asset we're going to be making today, so we will save that, and we'll say Space Hopper Art. So that's where I'm going to make all of our assets for that project, or this project should I say. Okay, so let's go and start working on spawning the platform. So let's go and do that. So now if you see here, our platform is here. So we can drag this into our scene so we can just see it quick. So if we drag that in, there's our platform. And yeah, that is quite big, but we will go ahead and change the size of that later on when we use it. So let's go and destroy that by deleting that. Okay, so what are we going to do first? Let us see. First of all, let's go and create a script. So let's go and create another C# script, and we'll call this what are we going to call this? Probably platform maybe. Yeah. So when this reloads, we'll go ahead and rename that script to platform. So obviously that's going to be attached to the platform, and then we want another script that's attached to our scene, and we will call that spawner whenever that reloads. So let's try that again. We'll call this spawner. Cool. So now let's go ahead and open up our spawner, and then let's go ahead and open up our platform. So opening that up, and then what we want to do is let's go ahead and create our platform right now so that we can attach the script to it. So let's go and change let's go reset that, and then we want to scale this down a bit. So let's drag probably like that and see what that looks like. So I'm going to move this underneath our astronaut just so we can see if it looks any good or not. So I think maybe we can make it a little bit bigger, maybe like that. Yeah, that should be fine. So let us go and copy that and paste that in there just so it's the same. So now let's go and create a prefab out of this. So we can go and create another folder, call that prefabs, just like that. And then we can simply, first of all, let's add our platform script onto that. Did I say that? Platform. Okay, no. So this didn't save, so let's go and save this as platform like that. And we might have to do that to the spawner one. Okay, no, so the spawner one's fine, so we'll save that, and now we should be able to add that to our platform. So let's go and try that again. So add component platform, there it is. So we'll add that onto there, and then what we want to do is that should be fine. So let's go and drag that into our prefabs folder, and now that's a prefab, so that's perfect. So just for testing purposes, I am going to zoom out of here, and I'm going to move the platform to the top of the screen like that. And then what we want to do is in our platform script, let us go and want to add some force to this, or want to add some like movement to it so that it moves from the top to the bottom. So to do that, we'll get rid of the start because we don't really need that, and then the only thing we need to do is we need to create a speed float variable. So let's go and say private float speed, and we'll set that equal to probably 5 for now. And then in the update method, we can go and say transform dot position. No, try that again. Transform dot position like that is equal to plus equal, so add this to the position over time in every frame. So let's go and say vector 3, I think it is, vector 3 dot down. Do they have down? Yeah, vector 3 dot down times the speed like that, and then out on the outside of the bracket we want to times that by time dot delta time. So we'll see if that works. Hopefully it does, and hopefully the platform now moves constantly down the screen. So let's go back to our editor here and see if that works. So let us, what's this? Okay, so we'll see if that gets rid of when we play the game. So let's go play the game now, and let us see if this works. Okay, so the platform is constantly moving, and if we zoom out here you can see that it's constantly moving. So that's what we don't want. When it gets past this white bar here, which we're going to remove later, we want to destroy it out of the scene. So we can do that in two ways. We can either do that by adding something here, so when it collides with it, it just destroys it straight away, or when it gets past a certain value at the bottom of the screen, we can go and destroy it. So we'll figure out which one we want to do later on. But for now, let's go back into the spawner here. Let's open that up, and then in here we want to spawn the platforms like every so on. So let's go do that. So first of all, we want to have a queue time. So let's say public, and this is basically probably the same code that we used in the Flappy Bird game that we're going to use in here. Instead of going from right to left on the screen, it's just going to go from the top to bottom. So if you look back at that code, it's probably going to be very identical. So let's go and say public float, let's say q time is equal to, let's say 0.5 for now, and then let us say private float time is equal to 0. And then obviously we want to reference to our platform, so let's go and say serialize field private game object platform, like that. So we'll drag and drop that in the inspector. So we'll save that. Let's go back to the game here. So now obviously we don't want this platform at the start of the game yet. We will add some. We'll add some later on, just because the astronaut is gonna want to. Well, we're gonna need the astronaut to be standing on something, otherwise it'll fall out the scene. But for now, we need to somehow get the spawner attached to the scene. So we'll go ahead and create a empty object here, and we'll call it a spawner manager, and then we can attach our spawner class onto that. So we'll attach that on there. So now we've got a reference to these. So now obviously just go and drag in our platform prefab into there, like that. So now our script will know what the platform is, and it can go ahead and spawn them whenever we say it to, whenever we tell it to. So we'll delete the start method because we don't really need that. And then in the update method, we want to tell it when to spawn these platforms. So to do that, let's go and say if the time is greater than the queue time, then we want to instantiate a platform into the scene. So let's go and say what is it, game object, we'll call this platform. No, we can't call that platform because we've already got platform over there. So we'll call this object, like that, and then we'll go and instantiate it. We don't add object, let's just say game object, like that. So game object is equal to instantiate, no, let's try it again, instantiate, like that, and this is where we are going to instantiate our platform, like that. And then we want to go and add we want to go and set the position of this. So let's do that by saying what is it, game object dot transform dot position is equal to transform dot position plus a new vector 3, and then this is where we want to add in a random range, because obviously we don't want them to spawn like right on top of each other. We want one to spawn here, then the next one there, then the next one there, and keep going from like left to right of the scene. So let's go and try and do that. So to do that, we want to say on the vector 3. So let's try this. So let's say, well, first of all, we need to make a value here. So we're going to say, instead of height, it's going to be width, because it's going to be from left to right and not from top to bottom. So here, let's go and create a private like that, private float, maybe, private float width, and we will not set that to equal to anything, because we will we'll change that to public, so we can play with that in the inspector and see what we want to set it to, and then after that we will come back and set it in the script, or you could just set it in the inspector all the time. Doesn't really make a difference, whatever you prefer. So here in our new vector 3, let's go and say random dot range, and we'll go width, and so the minimum is going to be minus the width, so a negative value of our width, and the maximum is obviously going to be a positive width, so like that. And then on the y-axis here, it's going to be 0, because obviously we wanted to spawn at the same place and then move down, so it doesn't really matter where it is. Cool. And then for the z, we'll set that to 0 as well, like that. So just end that off and see if that works. Cool. So now that we've instantiated a new platform, we want to go and reset our time to equal to 0, so it starts again. So now this is not going to be true, so therefore don't instantiate another platform. And then what we want to do after that, out of the if statement, we want to go and set our time plus equals to time dot delta time, so that when the time value is greater than the queue time, it will go ahead and instantiate another platform. So that's just resetting that time every every frame. So we'll save that, and let's jump back to Unity here and see if this works. I hope this works, because I haven't really done this before making this video, so don't even know what this is going to give us, but hopefully it works. So let's go ahead and see. So let's see, we get a platform clone and another one. Okay, so they are definitely doing what I wanted them to do, but obviously we need to set like a position for that. So let us go and try and do that. And obviously we want to make this queue time larger so that we don't get so many platforms. So let's try 1.5, so we'll save that, and then let us replay the game and see what it looks like. So if we play this, we should, obviously they're not going to spawn on the screen, so we'll switch into our scene view here, and we can have a look and see if the queue time is fine. So let's jump into the scene here. Okay, so maybe it needs to be, let's see, spawn manager, queue times, try 1. Yeah, so that's what we want. We want it to be at 1. Did I save that script? I did. Basically, it's not showing in here. But that's kind of the distance that we wanted. Maybe even slower. We'll see when we start making them like spawn in different locations. So let's go back and see why that's not working. So on the x-axis, so we didn't set our width to equal to anything. So let's go and play the game again and see if we change the width value, they should now spawn like along each other. So jump back into the scene here. We'll set that back to 1, and our width we'll set to 2. Let's see what that does. So 1. So that's what we want. We want them to kind of be like all over the place from like on the x-axis. So let's see. That's what we want. Perfect. Although let's go and change the queue time to 2 maybe. Well, I think that's a bit too big. So we'll change that back to 1, but then we will, I think I'm going to slow the speed down. So what was our queue time? I think the queue time was 1. Set that to 1, and then the time, where's the speed? The speed's on our platform, so let's go and change the speed to about 2.5 maybe, or half that, and see what that looks like. And then what else do we need to change? We need to, okay, so let's set the width is equal to 5, and we'll change that to private, like that. So let us see. So let's play the game now and see what that looks like. So hopefully that is all sorted and it looks pretty good. So if we play the game, let's have a look and see what that looks like. Because hopefully this works, and then I think the only thing that we have left to do in this episode is destroy them when they go off the scene, or go out of the window, or what's it called, go out of your gaming view. So this white box, in other words. So if we play that, and we switch, no, we're already in our scene view, but I think it's going to change. There it is. So let's go back into there and see. So Q time, why is that Q time not changing? So we'll set that to 1 and see what that looks like. So 1, yeah, so that looks a lot better. That's what we want. But we can change that. Okay, so we need to let's go ahead and reset the position of our spawn manager, and then the only thing we want to do is we want to move that out of the scene to the top of the screen here, so we can actually see them spawn and come down into our what's it called, into a game. So let's go and say private float queue time, and we'll set that to, I think it was 1, I can't remember. So that should be fine, and then let us go and play the game and see what it's like. So now that we moved our, now that we've moved the spawn manager, which is sitting above here somewhere, we can go ahead and play the game, and we can stay in the game window here, and we will actually be able to see the platforms come from the top of the screen. So there's 1, 2, 3. So basically what you do is you jump on there and then try and make it on the next one, and so on like that. Obviously we need to change this a bit, because yeah, we're getting there, but that's pretty much the aim of the game, is to keep jumping on these platforms and see how far you can get. Obviously towards the end of this game series, this white bar is not going to be here, so if you do fall off of the platforms, you will fall out of the scene, and then that will be the game over. But now let's pause this and see. So here you can see that all of our platforms are actually still in the game. So if we zoom out, there they are, and that's not what we want, because that's just adding extra things into our scene, and which eventually can slow the game down. So let's go ahead and start deleting these platforms whenever they reach a certain point in the game. So let's have a look and see. Can we select this one? So when we get to this position, which is -9 on the y-axis, so when they reach like a value that's less than -9, we want to go ahead and delete them. Or so that's one way to do it. Or what we could do as well is we could just move this block down here somewhere, and whenever they collide with this, then we go ahead and delete them. Or what we could do is, as another third option, is when we create them over here, we can say after like 10 or 20 seconds, go ahead and destroy them. So I think we'll do that for now, and then we'll see later on if we want to change that. So after we reset the time, let's go ahead and destroy game object after, let's say, about 15 seconds. So let's save that and jump back into the game here and see if that works. Hopefully that does work as a temporary solution, and then once we've set up our astronaut to actually collide with these with these platforms, we can go ahead and fix that. So let's see. Okay, so we need to change. Well, let's go back quick and cancel this, because our astronaut is just going to fall out the scene. So let's bring back our platform to here. I'm going to put this just there so we can just about see it. So if we play the game now, obviously the astronaut's going to fall onto this platform, it's going to sit there, and then the platforms that will fall from the top are going to start coming down slowly. But we want to see if these get destroyed after a few seconds, so they're going to carry on down the scene, and when they get to a certain point, they will be destroyed, because they would have reached the 15-second time limit. So there you go, they're now starting to be destroyed. So we could probably make that a lot shorter, maybe about 10 seconds. As long as it happens when they are off the screen, that will be fine, because you don't really want to see them get destroyed in the scene. But we do, because we're going to add that in as like an extra difficulty to the game later on. But for now, let's go ahead and destroy them while they're off the scene. So if we play this, we should see that everything works up to what we've done so far, so that should be fine. So let's play that and switch back to our scene here so we can see that happen. So as they come down, you should see after 10 seconds, I think it was, that we set it to, so somewhere probably about here, they'll get deleted. So there we go, that looks good. You could probably make that a little bit shorter as well, maybe not about like 8 seconds, but that doesn't really matter for now. So yeah, I think let's go ahead and switch back to our, well, let's save the project first just before we close it. So we've saved all of that, and let's jump back to our list here and see. So we start working on spawning the platforms, which we did. Let's make the platforms come from the top of the screen, move off to the bottom, which we did, and then we want to destroy the platforms when they go off the screen at the bottom. So we did that. So that is pretty much it for this episode. We checked all 3 boxes, which is good, fairly simple, very quick, only about 25 minutes. That's great. But yeah, that's it for this episode, so thank you so much for watching if you made it this far, and if you did, please go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in 2 days time for episode 3. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.